Whittaker-Bermite. This is an issue of our donut hole right in the middle of the city, our 900 acres that are going through a current cleanup. Rick Drew is president of the Citizens Advisory Group, and he's going to give us an update on what's going on there. So,
thanks, Al. I'm most of you know I'm Rick Drew. I'm the board president of the Canadian Country Advisory Committee. I'm also the chairman of the Whittaker-Bermite Citizens Advisory Group. We had our meeting on March 4th, and they have two meetings. We have a public meeting. Actually, they're both public meetings, but one happens to be at 3:30 in the afternoon, and one we have our other meeting at 7 o'clock at night. What's going on the property, if anybody, everybody knows. Let's see. There's the property, and it's hard to see, but anyway. It's 996 acres. It runs along Soledad on the north, Railroad Avenue and Bouquet Canyon on the west, Golden Valley Road on the east, and basically Circle J is on the north. On the 4th, like I said, we had the multi-jurisdictional meeting. It's called the Multi-Jurisdictional Task Force meeting, which all the players get together and they give a report on what's going on the property. There's finally work being done up on the property. You can see some of the work going on off of Soledad. There's a lot of excavation going on right now in one of the areas. It's called OU5, which is the area between the railroad station and the first ridge line. They're moving dirt now, and to date they've moved over 235,000 cubic yards of dirt. And what they do is they take it over to an area over near Golden Valley Road where they have treatment pads. These pads consist of big cells which are 25 foot wide, 100 foot long, and they pile the dirt in there 6 foot high. And this is a chart on how they process the dirt to get rid of the perchlorate. And that's what the purpose is. They're doing all this excavation so that they can get rid of the perchlorate. The dirt's hauled by these big dump trucks, these rock haulers. They dump it in the back, then it goes through a screener. They take all the big rocks out of it. Some rocks are crushed and put back into it. Other rocks are used for the bottoms of some of the pits. Then it's screened even more and goes into what they call a pug mill. And the pug mill, they put glycerin, water, and another agent in there to it's kind of like a sugar, and they mix it all with this dirt, and they use the water, and they spread it out in these treatment pads in these cells, and then they cover them with plastic. They used to use bags and put them in. They found that was too onerous, so now they cover them with plastic, and it's usually at least a 2-week process. It could be longer, where they cover them, they fill them up, and then they let them dry. The glycerin, the bugs in the dirt, the little microorganisms, stuff like glycerin a lot. They like perchlorate a lot, but they eat the glycerin and the perchlorate, and then they die once that's all gone because the oxygen gets depleted because it's covered with oxygen. So then once it's done, then they test the dirt, and then the dirt's taken back to where it was excavated from. They repack the dirt, and then they're going to reseed every section that they've excavated, reseed it with the natural plants. They've got a seed mix of the chaparral and the other plants that are there, and they will hydroseed the whole area that's been excavated. We went on a tour on the 4th, and this area up there is just so fantastic.
Rick?
What?
I have to tell you an unfortunate thing.
The pictures didn't take, did they?
No. I did everything I said I would.
Yeah.
I put the pictures all in this really great file.
Yeah.
I made this really, really nifty slideshow out of them, and I left the file at home.
Okay, well, imagine this beautiful green mountain here that if you go to the very top, you can see all the way out to Canyon Country, you can see all over New Hall, and you can see Valencia.
Just
The
use your
area up there is
imagination.
just beautiful. These pads are huge where they're processing the dirt. Like I say, it's been over 230,000 cubic yards of dirt moved so far. They're about 65% complete on the OU5, and then they will move on to the smaller areas of OU2 through OU4. The property's been divided up into 7 operable units, which is how they designate the areas. OU1 was cleaned up back in 2010, but now they're using it for the treatment pads, so they're going to have to go back once everything is complete and retest that area to take care of any contamination that's residual after they finish with the treatment. At the meeting they told us about all of that stuff, and like I say, we got to go visit the area, and there's quite a few areas that they've excavated. They showed us they've dug some holes where they knew the stuff was. They followed the trail of the perchlorate. There's one area right in the office section just behind the railroad tracks where they have a whole bunch of old buildings. And they knew that they were going to take down some of these buildings to get to the perchlorate. Well, they dug some holes. They started following perchlorate. It went farther than they thought, so they continued following it. Now they're underneath one of the buildings. They have to take down these buildings. The only problem is these buildings were built in the 30s and 40s. So there's asbestos, there's also lead paint in all these buildings, so they all have to be mitigated of the lead paint and the asbestos before they can take the buildings down. That's all part of the process. These pictures were really cool. There was holes anywhere from 5 feet deep to about 30 foot deep that they've dug so far. These trucks, if you go up Golden Valley Road, you can see these trucks are kind of red dump trucks, and they're going around. They have a circular pattern where they go down some dirt roads, so they only go one direction. There's a paved road up there, but they'll use the road up and then go down back around to collect it, so to make it more efficient and to speed things up. What we were told is the electric power grid is finally up and running. They've got all the brand new poles up there. They got brand new wires. They've got 3 soil vapor extraction plants going now where they're taking VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds. They're pulling those out of the soil with vacuums, and that's what the soil vapor extraction is. There's 11 more soil vapor extraction plants going to be going in. They're already designed, they're built, they just need to be delivered. They're being delivered as we speak. So there'll be a total of 14 soil vapor extraction plants up there, taking out all the VOCs and things. The perchlorate will take some of the perchlorate out also, but the rest of that will be taken out through the groundwater in the OU7 project. At the meeting, the 2 councilmen were there, Bob Keller and Dante Costa, and they were presiding over the meeting. And Bob was pushing to ask for a final date so when they can get this project completed. Because I know the city can hardly wait for this property to be completed. They can't touch it until it's finally cleaned up. And so Whittaker is trying to hit a deadline that the Department of Toxic Substance Control, who is the managing agency over the project, they gave them a deadline of 2016. Whittaker's trying for the end of 2016 to be done. They said it could go to 17. The city wants it to be yesterday. So they're working. Like I say, there's a lot of action going on up there. There's a water treatment plant that's going to be built. It's in the planning process right now. It's in the city planning, the design and all that. At the meeting, they were told that the city would expedite the permit process to get this treatment plant going. Now, the treatment plant is going on Soledad Canyon Road to the east of the property, right where the train tracks come from the Metrolink station, come down and meet Soledad. There's a triangle area on the east side of the property. That's where they're going to put this water treatment plant. Contractor's already been hired to start laying pipes up on the property, 20,000 linear feet of pipes that they're going to pump water from wells that have already been sunk up on the property. And the pipes will bring the water down to the treatment plant. Treatment plant will process it. It's a water treatment plant that's a little different than what CLWA uses over on Bouquet Canyon. That is just a resin treatment just for perchlorate. What Whittaker is doing with this treatment plant, it's going to be a fluoridized bed with, let's see. Anyway, it's a treatment, a fluoridized bed reactor and microbiological process where they're going to use bugs to clean up some of the VOCs also. And, but they're just microbes and they disappear with, once everything's done. But the water will be cleaned to a standard. It actually will be to a drinking water standard, but it'll be a non-potable water. The plant will process 500 gallons a minute in treating this water. And at the meeting, we asked CLWA and the city, what are you going to do with all this water? Because right now the plans are they're just going to discharge the water into the river. Well, we suggested that maybe you send the water up and water all the medians along Soledad Canyon Road. CLWA gave us the excuse that they just use recycled water on the west side of town and that it's too expensive and that there's no plans to recycle any of this water. I said, and they said, well, we have medians over there. And I said, with Soledad Canyon Road's got the longest medians, it's the longest road in the city, and why can't you use that to put some water on our medians there? Because that's a lot of water, that's like 750,000 gallons a day that they're going to process. CLWA also gave us a report that their Saugus wells 1 and 2, Saugus 1 has been rehabilitated. It had a lot of corrosion problems and they've rehabilitated it. It's been running since late November. Saugus 2, which is on Magic Mountain. Saugus 1 is over near Saugus Cafe. Saugus 2 is on Magic Mountain Parkway just by the river. And they've got a motor out, or a pump motor out on that well. They've just replaced it. CLWA was real proud. They announced that since the 5 years that they've been pumping and treating the water from Saugus 1 and 2, that they've pumped 13,500 acre-feet of water through those pumps and treated and put into our water supply in 5 years. But then I've also been told by other water experts that that's only about half of the production that those wells used to produce before they were treated. So it really wasn't as big a number as they thought that they wanted to make it out to be. There's another well that's going to go back online soon. It's Valencia 201, which is near City Hall. It's been contaminated with perchlorate. It's been down since 2010. It's going back online. They're put a new pump on that. They're going to pump and treat at the site, just like they treat the other water that's over by Lowe's, which is a resin. It takes perchlorate out of all the water. So anyway, one other thing is right there in the Metrolink station, they were trying to alleviate the plume and the flow of contaminants from the Metrolink station, which the Metrolink station is on contaminated ground. They're trying to keep the contaminants from going through Saugus Speedway because everything moves towards the west. They were going to use a barrier between the two properties to try to alleviate it, but the groundwater is so low. Groundwater is down below 80 feet deep now. Normal years it's at 20 feet below the surface. It's well below 80 feet now. So they can't use the remedy that they wanted, so now they put in a vapor extraction plant on the southwest corner right next to Saugus Speedway in the corner of the train station on a dirt piece of ground, and they're going to extract the VOCs out of the area with that soil vapor extraction. They said the soil vapor extraction will work as good or better than the other thing that they had to do, and being there's no groundwater, they couldn't do it any longer. Anyway, things are going actually pretty well up there. There's a lot of work going on. The next meeting for the CAG and for the multi-jurisdictional task force is on July 1st, and the meetings at City Hall at 3:30, CAG meetings at 7 o'clock at the Methodist Church on Bouquet Canyon. And since we enjoyed all our beautiful pictures that we had, I've got a couple on my phone if you want to come back and look at them on my phone. But that's all I've got. Anybody have any questions?
What did they say that they were going to do with the water that was, I'm sorry. What did they say they were going to do with the water that was being cleaned up at this plant that?
Right now, the water is going to be put into a swale that's right between the Metrolink station and the property, and it's going to go underneath Soledad Canyon Road into the river. That's their only plans.
Do you have any idea
I
what
know, I bet you if we, as a group, and we got some more citizens behind this, we really need to start working on the city and CLWA about recycled water, being we're going into our, fourth, fifth year of a major drought. And now they're telling us that we're not going to be even water in our yards here real soon. They're dumping a whole lot of water. I know they're dumping, 20 million gallons a day into the river from the sanitation plants. And this here is going to be 750,000 gallons a day going
well,
into
what's
the
the chloride level of that water?
chloride level is very low.
Why
all
don't
that- all
they mix
that-
that with the water coming out of Saugus?
Well, this is coming out of the northern alluvium.
What's that?
Most of this water, well, a lot of this water is coming out of northern alluvium, but all the water up on that property is very low in chloride. It's below 80 parts per liter. It's probably closer to 60 as far as I can remember. So they said they really don't have a problem with the chloride putting the water in the river because of chloride. They have the permits from the Regional Water Quality Control Board to put it in the river.
Well, why can't they blend that with the high chloride water to lower the chloride water to send it down the river?
You're past my pay grade.
Well, I'm
That's a
just
good
sick of
que-
this
that's a
damn
good question.
chloride deal.
I'm telling you, CLWA right now, CLWA is full of excuses, and the main excuse is, everything's too expensive. Everything's too expensive. But I bet if we started lobbying, for a better term, if everybody wants recycled water, which we all do, I mean, if the city says that we want landscape medians, they better do something to water these medians, because the medians are going to end up looking like down by my house on Soledad, where everything's dead. And Al will talk more about that soon, because it's been 2 months, and they're 2 months deader than they were 2 months ago. And the only time we had water is when my wife came home and said, there's water running all over Soledad Canyon Road, and one of the valves had broken. We had water everywhere on Soledad, so I reported it. So the city was thankful that I reported it, and they fixed the valves, but the sprinklers still don't work.
Rick?
Yes?
With regard to the use of the water, yes, they are going to be putting it into the river. There is the problem there, too, that we have to watch, is that you create a wetlands, and there's the liability there.
Right, then
to
we're in the
maintain
same problem as it is over on the other side of town.
Right, the liability of that. We already have that further up in the
Yeah, we've
river.
already asked about that too, and they said they were
But-
going to watch it, but
But the other issue is that the developer, the current owner or that's working it, they're saying that they can use a lot of this water for during the construction, where they have to keep the roads
Right.
down and that sort of thing. So the big issue is the cost of the purple pipes and who will cover it. And I don't know a solution to that. That's not really, that's out of our realm of
Right.
dealing with, but that's the problems you have right now. But the more the water goes in there, the longer it's going into the river, you're creating this wetlands, then that has to be maintained.
yeah, the
So
wetlands will be beautiful.
you'll have it one way or the other.
They'll look almost like as green as this here. Because it was very green. We got lucky when we went up on the tour, because it was, I've been up there 3 times now. This is the first time that I've been up there when it's green. And I'll tell you what, it is very beautiful property. I can see why people want to develop it. but it's got to get cleaned up before it can be developed. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. Will this have an impact when they want us to build this multi-billion-dollar thing for the chloride?
No, this won't have an impact because the water level, or the chloride levels in this water is way below those standards.
So we still have to,
That's another subject. He's got the answers to that also. I was just here to show you all the beautiful green pictures of everything, and and tell you what a wonderful place it is. And I tell you, they are moving land up there, and it's finally nice to see something actually take place. And we'll keep on top of it and try to keep them on the straight and narrow about doing it. I know the Via Metro people, which kind of rolls into New Hall land, but it's somebody else that owns it, except it's still New Hall land. They want to put a paseo over Soledad and a walkway over to the train station because that's what but they can't do anything until the property's cleaned up because they can't even take a portion of the property to do that. So that's where it's at, and we'll keep plugging. And like I say, July 1st is our next meeting, and everybody's welcome to come. It's very educational to find out what's going on, and Jose Diaz is the project manager, and he's got a lot of answers, and he explains those pretty detailed and actually very layman terms what's going on. So with that, thank you.
You know, I just want to apologize. It was totally my fault that the pictures weren't there. But I have a strange feeling that if you watch the video, the pictures will be there. And I tell you what, it's tough, especially when you get up here in front of a bunch of people and someone throws you a curve like that. And I think Rick handled it really, really well. Let's give him a special hand for that.